All right, so everybody, we are back here with Conversations with Manny J. I am here with my guy, Tree of Life, and everything. And so, Tree, you was just kind of speaking on how art is inspired or is kind of involved in your music and your art and everything, but and you're bringing all that in together and from a fashion perspective and everything. So elaborate on that a little bit more and everything, because I want our listeners to and viewers to understand how deep you go within your visuals.
Okay, well, the best example I could probably give of that, and funny enough, is so much hot water being spoke about this man right now. But Kanye West, when he first came out, he brought like an entire different style to music, to fashion, to art. He had the bear that he was coming out with the college dropout, which is a artistic visual that you could see. He did the cartoon stuff. Like he appealed to so many different dimensions of your mind. When you young, they set us down in front of TVs and we watch cartoons.
Right.
Because the colors are bright, and the way that things move around, our minds respond to it, and it basically ingrains the things that they're saying in your mind, because you can remember cartoons that you watch to this day, and you can still remember episodes that you've seen of the Flintstones, or maybe like what's the one where they ride around in the mystery wagon or whatever, Scooby-Doo and all of that. So like you will remember all of these things or whatever. So I feel like when it comes to music, I get pictures in my head. When I listen to Stevie Wonder, I think I see moments. Like I can remember like my dad in the kitchen cooking breakfast and whatnot to certain songs and singing those songs, and when those songs come on now, I see it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But he painted a picture too where he made it seem like a homely, comfortable type of setting.
Right.
So like I feel like with music, when I make my music, I see things from three different dimensions. I see it from the fashion perspective. How am I presenting this fashion wise to people? What am I saying with my clothes?
Right.
Because when you meet somebody, you judge them based off how they dressed.
Right.
You know, so like that's one aspect of it. And then you have the artistic aspect of if it's a CD cover or some type of visual, what is that visual saying to you? Like it's certain colors that you just like because they do something to your stimuli.
Right,
Like
exactly.
like every color has a different vibe to it. Burgundy has a vibe to it. Blue has a vibe to it. And that's why when you paint your rooms and stuff, you really think about what colors you want it to be, because it's gonna affect your mood.
Exactly.
So I just take all of those things and I put them into one, and I just create.
Exactly. And and I think that's one thing as far as whatever artistry you're in and whatever it is that you're doing, certain things and certain colorways and certain tones, and it definitely shapes the mood and the attitude of that experience.
Yeah.
And so going into what you was just saying about that art and how you kind of was speaking a little earlier about your name, Tree of Life, and you kind of defined it a little bit earlier, but so why did you choose that though?
I chose it because I felt like I needed to have something on me that represented life. Like a big thing for me was I always grew up watching Muhammad Ali's interviews, and I always was like, man, this dude was a genius, and I felt like he had so much vision for what he wanted to do, and him being like, this name is not my name because it was given to me, and I'm a big fan of Malcolm X as well.
Right.
And him changing his name and getting rid of the slave name that was put on him. I don't really go by Bruce Stevens like that no more, because I feel like that's a slave name that was given to my pops and my family by somebody who had owned them. And why do I want to be owned still? Like that's not who I am.
Right.
Like that, you gave me a lifestyle, you gave me a life, and that's not my life. A name is everything, because like I said, vibrations are everything. So when I think of Tree of Life, I think of peace, I think of trees, and like being in a city like LA where there's so much concrete around you and so many walls put up by people and by the city itself, when you go to a place like Griffith Park or something like that, it calms you down. And it makes you think about godly things. It makes you be more at peace with yourself. When you go to the beach and you just sit and look at the waves, it does something to you. So Tree of Life does something to me.
So do you say that you would want your listeners and your viewers, or just your people that's following you and that believes in you and your supporters, would you say when they speak your name, you want them to feel that vibration of peace?
Sure, yeah.
Nice. That's interesting. So if that's the case, then if say fast forward, if you ever have your child and everything, what what how would you want to define that your offspring?
I mean, that would be like a research project in itself. Like I would just look for different names that have like meanings that I feel like is meaningful for that child, so that when that child grows up, because you actually become what is given to you.
Mm-hmm.
So like my name has like certain meanings to it, and I actually morphed into those meanings. Like me and my dad are a lot alike,
Mm-hmm.
and being called Bruce and letting that vibrate for so many years, it actually vibrates certain things into your soul,
Right,
into
right.
yourself,
Right.
into your spirit. So if I was to have a child, I would really pay attention to what I would want to program into my child,
Exactly.
because it's constantly gonna get repeated to that child. That's why you ever notice that like chicks be like, "Oh, Tyrone did it." Like for some reason, Tyrone be fucking up all the time. I wouldn't name my child Tyrone. You know what I'm saying? Because Tyrone be fucking up.
Call
You know what I mean? Like, so everything just got a vibration, and you just gotta be careful.
That's crazy, because when I was researching my son's name, Emmanuel, his name is Emmanuel Christopher Youngson Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big meaning behind his name, and he has. And people say, is he a junior? I said, no, he's not a junior. He has his own legacy to live,
Mm-hmm.
and he has in my opinion, I feel like he has a very powerful name, and he is a very, very powerful individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not just saying that because my son, but he's really a blessed light, and he lives and walks as a light.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think my biggest responsibility as his father is to help him understand his light and how to expose it, and not to feel like he has to ever dim it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something consciously I thought about. People say, well, why did you name him Young Son? And it's a Korean name.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it means courageous dragon in the first position.
That's dope.
So, and he can literally go anywhere and switch it up, and if he ever had to,
Right.
switch it up.
See, that's smart. You was thinking.
Man, because I feel like you have to think about your child's legacy and what you're doing for them,
Mm-hmm.
And even through things that I do in my life. He told me the other day, and it's just kind of side note, but he told me the other day, how much I inspired him just by him always kind of me making him work with me.
Mm-hmm.
But he expressed how much that inspired him, and I was like, wow, you 10 years old and you telling me how much I inspire you at right now. And
Yeah.
I don't care what I was going through that day, and probably what I went through all year. Those were, and he told me on my birthday.
Wow.
So all of those words that came from his little heart made a lot of sense, because then it made me really, really appreciate my journey. So, I get it, man. And when you told me that you were switching it up to Tree of Life, I said, wow, that's a perfect name for you, because your music, your art, you as a person, you give people life. When someone comes to you and have a conversation, they can't come and have a conversation about no bullshit. And that's why we connect so well, because it's not about having a what we call a filler conversation. We're going to have a real talk. You're going to have some real knowledge to share with them, and I think that's life.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a little intermission, and we'll be back.
I just roll my window down. I just roll my window. I just roll my window down. When I'm riding around the town, I just roll my window down. I just roll my window. I just roll my window down.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Manny J, and we're here and we're back with my guest Tree of Life. And so, look, Tree, let me ask you a question, man. So, during the process and the creative process of making music, kind of break that down to me, man.
Okay, I think for me, a lot of times music is my way of it's my therapy.
Okay.
I use it to get stuff out that I can't say to nobody else. I'm a very guarded individual, just based off of how I was raised and how like so many people, like, because I left the house and I felt like it's this thing within the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses where somebody gets disfellowshipped or whatever. That's when you a baptized member or whatever, and then you do something wrong and the committee don't think that you are remorseful, so they disfellowship you, and you can't talk to nobody else. Nobody
Word.
won't talk to you. That's a witness. If they know you disfellowship, they won't talk to you. So when I moved here, it kind of felt like I was disfellowship because nobody called me. Nobody like,
How did it make you
check.
feel?
Man, I felt alone. Like the only reason why I felt cool was because I had Ethan around.
Okay.
So I was like, well, that's my best friend anyways, and I got this guy around all the time, so it's cool, it's whatever. And then I met y'all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then it was cool, but I really felt like so many people that I really looked out for when I was younger, they just really didn't. I don't know. It's just like the love was just gone. You know what I'm saying? So I felt alone. So when it comes to writing music, I always would go there in order to get the things out that I couldn't say to other people. So if you listen to the progression, the first mixtape that I put out, and then you listen to the progression too, and then you listen to the growth, you'll hear my life story. Like when I go
Right.
back and listen to them things, like sometimes some of them songs just bring tears in my eyes because I remember exactly what I was going through when I wrote that song.
What's your favorite song off Progression One?
My favorite song.
Or
of
which one
Progression.
that pops up in your head? It might not be your favorite, but you look at that song and you think about where you are today, and you can see the progression.
It's a song on there that I actually called the progression. It was like a J. Cole beat at the time that
Okay.
I went over. I think that probably would be my most favorite one. And then secondly, it's this other record at the end of the progression where I kind of give a shout out to everybody from my past.
Okay.
And the people that I felt that didn't love me, I still shouted them out anyway. The people that I felt like kind of like left me in the dark and left me cold and shit, I still like reached back out to them and was like trying to be understanding of why they might have that type of attitude toward me or whatever. So I think that those two are my favorites.
Did any one of them ever reach back out to you? Have you had those conversations since then?
I've had a couple of conversations, but it was like once it was just done.
Mm-hmm.
You know how sometimes people in your life is just seasons.
Yeah.
And that statement has been made by so many people, and it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like maybe that a lot of these different people
Mm-hmm.
were just seasons. And now that we're so different, in my mind, my mentality is like, 'cause if I learn something new and I find out it's the truth,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew something else and I was living my life differently before,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna completely cut whatever I was doing out
Okay.
because that's not true.
Right. Okay.
I'm not one of those people who hold on to things just because I've been doing it for 10 years or I've been doing it for 15 years. If I find out it's wrong, I'm gonna stop.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like it's a lot of people that I wasn't able to grow with, so they grew in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
And now we don't really
Right, you
vibe
don't
no
intersect.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not really too much to talk about, and it worked out how it's supposed to work out, in my opinion.
And you know, people come into your life at those times, man, to add value, regardless. If someone comes in your life, even then they hurt you. You know, you probably have had exes and, you know, partners and stuff like that, and you're like, fuck, man, why did they do this to me? Or I can't believe this happened, or why did I do this shit to them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that is progression for you.
Mhm.
That is a life lesson for you. And I what I've learned to do is take those lessons and still give that love back.
Yeah.
You know, because it's very, very, very important to recognize that, first of all, we're human.
Mhm.
And sometimes you have to give people a little bit of excuse sometimes that people just don't know any better.
Yeah.
And when you understand that people don't know any better and that they're human, you know, and this is my personal belief, but I feel like that's where God's love always intervene.
Yeah.
Because you can always look at a situation and say, I might not be able to rock with you, and that was really effed up what you did. But you know what? I've learned to just say, all right, well, you know what? It's still love.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I might not have to fool with you, but there's
Yeah.
love there.
No,
You know
that's
what I mean?
real. That's the best way to keep peace with yourself. Like I got into it with my pops at one point, and me and my dad's like super close. So like when we had a little falling out when my parents got a divorce, and I felt like he kind of like divorced everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I had an issue with that, and then I just kind of at one point, and this is when I was like 13, 14 years old, and I was mature enough even then to be like, you know what? Majority of my friends that I went to school with didn't even have no dad, or their dad was gone when they was 2 or 3 years old. They dipped. Their dad dipped on them. You know, I had my dad for 14 years, and to me, growing up where I grew up, that was a huge accomplishment.
Right,
So
right.
I was like, well, instead of me being mad at how he's acting right now or what I feel like he doing right now, let me just focus on everything he did to get me here, because I feel like I'm already a man and I'm 14. I got way more here than a lot of my homies did running around because they ain't have no guidance.
Right, right.
So at that moment, I realized I could let anybody go. And that's where like music kind of like picked up that space to where I can live in that space. I can go back to that moment for that particular time, and then I can move on.
Nice, nice. Definitely. So what you saying that because a lot of the things that you do in your music is a reflection of what you do in your fashion and is a reflection of what you do in your art. So is the process any different or from what you, when you're making your music, from when you're making your clothing, when you're making your art? Like we might have touched on it a little bit earlier, but the point that I'm trying to make is explain how that inspires one another.
You mean like what comes first, like what happens? So the process with me more or less now is cause I'm an emotional person, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm very in tune with emotions and people and how they feel and stuff like that. So I'll usually get these feelings and then I'll write about it, and then whatever I say will be like, dang, that's a quote. That's so, and I'll get a picture and then I want to draw it. So then that's a piece of art. And then like everything just kind of comes together as one story because it's different dimensions of that same piece. Because like I said before, when you get a song, you need a cover for it. You know, so I actually wanted to do a piece of art for every single one of my songs. You know what I mean? That was my goal, but it's just like the time, I can't find it. But having a full-time job, recording the music, writing all the music myself, helping produce the music, shooting videos, starting a YouTube channel. By the way, I got this joint that I started called the Tree Sessions, and y'all can check that on YouTube or whatever. And that's my creative process. So you kind of can see, and I incorporate everything in there. So you'll see me in the studio writing down my lyrics. Then you'll see me laying it down. Then you'll see me getting inspired with other people around. You know. Then you'll see somebody wearing something that came from like this right here came from a song that I got called Stupid Shit.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because that. I would love for us to actually let you all hear a little bit of that. Damn, we love some stupid shit.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. So listen. So why did you want to say that to the world? Why did you want to express that?
Because it's true. A lot of scenarios.
Love some stupid shit.
We love stupid shit. Like anything that's dumb, we like it. Anything that's intelligent, it's like we don't want to fuck with it. We don't like it. You know, we automatically want to. It's just like when you little, you won't eat your vegetables, even though that's the thing that's good for you. You don't want to eat that. You want to eat everything that's bad for you.
Tell that ice cream up.
And that same pattern will move with you as you grow as a person, as an adult. We like things that tear us apart.
Right.
We addicted to things that kill us.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
That's true.
And so like
even when we know it's wrong, we still fucking do it.
Yeah.
You know, we do. So do you feel like that's because of the way that we've been groomed in society?
Yeah, society. We all been programmed.
Do you think that's a Western thing?
I think it's a worldwide thing now, but I think more Western in the aspect of having more influence by technology and things of that nature, where other people might not have as much access to technology as we do over here.
So in your music, what is it that you want to do to kind of shift the dynamic of that?
I basically want to do the same thing that the negative people are doing, but I want to do it from a positive angle. I want to give you subliminals, positive subliminals.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm still gonna give you a real life story, because before I used to be like, I'm not gonna cuss in my music because cursing is like, if you listen to what cursing is cursing. Right. You cursing somebody in your words. Like when we talk, it spells.
Right.
Like that's why you learn how to spell when you were a kid. Like, oh, teach you how to spell. Like everything. Like lived backwards is devil. You know what I'm saying? Live backwards is evil. You know what I mean? Like, and you can say something to somebody. That's why when you say fuck you, it can start a fight. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you just put a spell on that person and they feel strongly about what you said. Yeah. Words are things and they become things.
Just like you said earlier, it's affirmation.
Yeah.
It's affirmation. So we're going to go ahead and put a pin in it and everything. I hope you all are enjoying this conversation with my man Tree as much as I am. So Tree, tell them real quick before we take a break about the Tree Sessions and how they can find you.
Definitely go on to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, Tree of Life. That's TreeofLyfe, and it's called the Tree Sessions. And we do this. We try to do it every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, just depending on how my schedule is. But it's pretty regular. You'll see at least 2 episodes monthly. And I got one. Hopefully I can drop it tonight. If not tonight, then it'll be tomorrow.
Bet. All right, so you all stay tuned and everything, and we'll throw all that information in our show notes.
I just